Thank you. Give it up for all the people who presented so far tonight. All great ideas. People trying to do cool stuff in Cleveland. As he said, my name is Ramon Rivas. I'm a stand-up comedian. I live in Lorraine with my dad, and all I do is comedy in Cleveland for the most part. I've been producing shows around town since 2010, and I just really love being a comedic ambassador and making sure that when people come to town, they have a experience that changes the narrative of what they thought Cleveland was. Definitely nationally, Cleveland is on its way up, and I feel that within the city, comedy is kind of reaching this point where people kind of hear about something's going on. I love Cleveland a lot. I love Cleveland so much, I recently wrote a list of ways you know you're from Cleveland, the first of which is you have no idea when the West Side Market's open. But there's all of these. But the West Side Market's an example of a institution in Cleveland that is revered and respected and everyone knows about. And a couple years ago, I started doing a comedy festival called Accidental Comedy Fest. And hopefully that will become something that is also a foundational fixture for the city. Since I've been producing shows in 2010, back then I made an aim to bring out comics who I'm a fan of, who for whatever reasons don't work at the two comedy clubs in town, Hilarities and the Improv. And I, just reached out to people I'm a fan of, and I was able in 2010 to bring out in order Hannibal Buress, Neil Brennan, Nikki Glazer, Amy Schumer, and Trevor Noah, all of which who have TV shows. I'm not claiming their fame that I'm directly responsible for, but I just I just have a good eye for talent, and because of the way I do comedy, I'm able to kind of meet these people and make connections. And the festival winds up being a lot of people coming to Cleveland just kind of based off my reputation. In my travels, I've gotten to go to New York, Chicago, and LA, and I've seen that all that makes those cities great for comedy is that there's a lot of rooms happening and there's a lot of artists, and there's nothing inherently different about those cities than what's happening in Cleveland. So I've just kind of made a point to put together events throughout the year that can bring people together as a community. And we've done everything to date through kind of word of mouth and social media, and we've got a really rabid fan base. Last year, the festival was the 4th year, and we had over 1,000 people come to the 3-day event. We were able to bring in artists from all over the country, which was really great. And it's an offshoot of the first 3 years I did it, I was by myself putting the festival together and pulling a lot of favors. And last year was the first year that a group called Accidental Comedy Club, which I founded, it's a collection of artists dedicated to enriching the arts in Cleveland through live comedy performances and other productions. And it's me and 4 other members who I feel will be the next generation of comedic ambassadors for the city. And really, honestly, Cleveland is right on the cusp of being a hub for comedy in the country. We have 2 great comedy clubs. Hilarities is one of the most beautiful places in the country. The Improv was one of the first improv locations that wasn't in Hollywood. And there's just a rich history of comics. Steve Harvey, Drew Carey, Bob Hope all spent time in Cleveland and cut their teeth here. So it's been great to kind of open the door for future generations and current generations to get their feet wet and continue to do this thing as more than just a hobby. We want to be more than just professional comics. We really want to make the city proud with what we do. So normally the way a comedy festival works is a comic pays to submit, and then you get accepted or rejected. If you get accepted, you have to pay for your flight out there. You have to find somewhere to stay, which usually involves paying for a hotel. You got to buy your food. You got to buy your drink. So I just try to actively go against those things. The last few years, I've been able to rent out the entire Cleveland hostel so the artists can stay there. We've partnered with a couple different hospitality and food vendors to be able to feed and lodge and make sure people are drinking and they're not spending any extra money when they come to town. If I get this grant, I'll be able to give everyone a travel stipend to offset their costs in that way. And comedy is such low overhead. Like I had a lady email me recently that she wanted to hire me to perform at her company's charity luncheon. There was no money, but she was working on getting me lunch. And I had to respond back, thanks for reaching out, but I'm just gonna stay home and definitely eat lunch. And I'm just working to try to continue establishing comedy as an art, as something that people will support, and is something that builds the city's brand and it's a way to engage the city the same way that Playhouse Square or Severance Hall is. So I hope you guys will support. It's August 26th through 28th at May Halls. Hope to see you. Goodbye.